typical of the many millions for whose sake I have borrowed my title. Millions Like Us was a propaganda movie made by Frank Launder and Sidney Gilliat in 1943 to persuade women to join the war effort. If I could have chosen another title, it might have been We Just Got On With It, the mantra of every woman I spoke to who lived through the war. So this book is not only an attempt to characterize that faceless war memorial, it is also my tribute to a generation of brave, stoical, unselfish, practical and uncomplaining women, whose values, along with their deeds, seem to be passing into history. Prelude. A little over 80 years ago, a very ordinary girl named Phyllis Noble was growing up in a terraced house with an outside toilet in Lewisham, South London. She was born in 1922. Her dad was a jobbing builder, and like many in the 1930s, his trade was falling off. The Noble's financial situation was not improved by his fondness for the pub. Phyllis's mum looked after the extended family of grandparents, in-laws, and her own 3 children, who all lived under the same roof. As a role model, Mum never overstepped the limits. She was first, foremost, and exclusively a housewife, whose life revolved around the daily routine of shopping, cooking, and washing. Despite the family's straitened circumstances, Phyllis had a happy, rumbustious childhood. The kitchen in their cramped terrace house was a haven, and even when Dad had had a drop too much, the family was united, roaring and joking when he let out one of his spectacularly loud farts. Phyllis was clever, but when she succeeded in winning a scholarship to a grammar school in Greenwich, Mum, disgusted at the expense of the uniform, launched a family battle to stop her daughter going. In any case, getting educated would, in her view, be a pointless waste of time, since there was no alternative to the trap that she had herself been forced to enter 20 years earlier, that of marriage and motherhood. To Phyllis's relief, Mum was overruled by Dad, and in 1933 she took her first apprehensive steps away from the crowded, working-class, patriarchal world of her childhood. A better accent and a better life beckoned, alongside dreams of romance and escape from her proletarian background. But by the time she was 16, it was 1938. Dad sat gloomily at home reading the newspaper reports about mass unemployment and the threat of war. In June 1939, aged 17, Phyllis Noble joined the ranks of the so-called business girls. She was to be a ledger clerk at the National Provincial Bank in Bishopsgate. Her workplace was a gloomy, noisy Victorian hall. Seated on a backless stool before her cumbersome ledger machine, a kind of monstrous typewriter, Phyllis was one of hundreds like her who spent their days sorting through piles of cheques, orders and statements to reconcile the bank's accounts. Prospects for women in this world were virtually nil. Like their working-class counterparts, the maidservants in their basements and pantries, the business girls tended to be time servers, dreaming of ensnaring their boss or male colleague into marriage. Then they could leave.
For women, the main road was to matrimony. Judging by the total absence of married women and the scarcity of older unmarried ones, this was a destination which most women who strayed into the banking world reached soon enough. And indeed, with so many young men around, head office at least served well as a marriage market.
Years later, Phyllis told the story of her teenage years and early adulthood in 2 short memoirs entitled A Green Girl, 1983, and Coming of Age in Wartime, 1988. She had grown up, married a man named Peter Wilmot, and become not a film star or a literary virtuoso, but a respected social scientist. There is little to set her early life apart from the great mass of the working class to which she belonged, so what made her think her unexceptional adolescence was interesting enough to be the material for a book? And yet it is, for the reason that she lived through extraordinary times. Phyllis's life, like that of millions of her contemporaries in mid-20th century Britain, was about to be shaken to its foundations by uncontrollable international events. It would never recover its stability.